Another gift from the shooting on location gods. A full look at Ms. Marvel's complete costume. How did they let this happen? But they did. So let's discuss. I'm not only going to break this costume down for you and share my thoughts on it, it's amazing, but I'm also going to spill some tea about the changes to her powers as well. We have a lot to discuss. The first thing I want to say is that in these photos, Iman Vellani not only looks ripped from the comics, but even if you weren't familiar with the comics, you would still think that she looks fantastic, or should I say, marvelous. She looks really, really good. But by far and away, my favorite touch is something new, and that's the sneakers, which I think is clearly a nod to another famous Kamala, and that's VP Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris. Now, Harris's mother is from India, and Kamala Khan's family is from Pakistan. And I think that's why there's the difference in the pronunciation of their names. I might slip up a little bit jumping from one to the other in this discussion, but it's Vice President Kamala Harris, and then it's Kamala Khan. And I looked it up. I saw an interview with the editor who helped create this character, and they pronounced it Kamala Khan. So maybe that, for those of you from the regions, or who are familiar with the two cultures, is that why the names are pronounced differently? But anyway, speaking of the cultures, her costume is based on traditional South Asian clothing, which is popular in both Pakistan and India. But those two countries, as you might have heard, have actually been at odds for a very long time. And there's been some controversy over Disney Marvel casting Indian actors or actors of Indian descent to play Pakistani characters on this show. But Ms. Vellani herself is of Pakistani descent, and we'll see how different communities react when the show officially starts its ad campaign. It's been a little bit bumpy so far, but you just never quite know how people are going to react. I don't know why they created any potential problems for themselves, but they did. However, I think it would be great if Vice President Kamala Harris were to at least give this show a shout out, especially because she not just shares the same name as the character, but now this wonderful nod in taste of footwear. I loved it on the Vice President, and I love it on Ms. Marvel. Now, this is one of the best comics to screen costume adaptations I have ever seen, because not only does it look comics accurate, but it looks even better, in fact. So that's great. Sometimes it'll look worse and you'll be like, but at least it's comics accurate, or it'll look better, but it won't look like it'll look too different. This is just fantastic. The costume also seems, by the way, to borrow from the recent Avengers video game where Kamala was front and center. And I actually really liked the depiction of her character in that game. The darker colors and the gold accents are the same, but this even looks better than that, in my opinion. That costume in the video game was too bulky. Well, this one still offers more protection. Note the knee pads and slimmer shoulder pads, but it has a more feminine look. It looks really great. She looks gorgeous. Oddly, though, Marvel just gave Kamala Khan a new costume in the comics, an odd lack of corporate synergy for the Mouse House. I'd be like, why did you change it? I just gave her that one in the show. The gold detailing on the sides, alongside her torso, not only looks very cool, but it's slimming as well. And the slit also there, which is incorporated into the pattern, that gives Kamala more movement as well, which I think is great. The scarf is here, which is important. It's a nod to the traditional clothing of, again, South Asia. But I think that would be a liability in the field. I don't really think you can wear a scarf to do this, but I'll see how they make it, if they can make it make sense in a live action adaptation. Here it looks cool, but I would be a little concerned about that. Kamala Khan is one of the few Marvel characters to have a secret identity, like the Spider-Man characters, which is why she has this domino mask on here. Domino masks, we all agree, they wouldn't actually hide a single person's secret identity, but we just go along with it. And this one I think looks very good. It's a very good size. I think that it hits the cheeks in the right place. It leaves enough space around the eyes, and she has great eye makeup. She looks really great. It looks very pretty, but at the same time, it's age appropriate. Vellani is over 18, but she's playing a high school aged character. And by the way, her hair also looks amazing. Somebody went to Avengers Tower and got a blowout. They're like, she's definitely in one of us. Look at her hair. Now let's talk about changes to the powers. Now, first off, it'll be, and also to the costume, well, to the characters, how she fits into Marvel and the MCU versus the comics. So it'll be interesting to see how they explain the lightning bolt logo, because in the comics, she took on that logo and the name Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan did, because Carol Danvers was no longer using it. So it was a way for the company to keep that character going, but they reinvented it with their first Muslim American character. But here, Carol Danvers has never worn that costume, and she never used the name Ms. Marvel. So they're going to have to change how that works. I believe the lightning bolt will likely be a nod to Kamala Khan's new origin, and here's what I can tell you about it. So I'm hearing that Kamala Khan will not have her embiggen powers or stretchy powers whatsoever, but she will instead be basically a purple Green Lantern, as you've heard a couple of other scoopers reporting. I was the first to bring it up, but I at the time I was sworn to secrecy, but now because some scoopers have unearthed it, I can tell you a little bit more. So I can confirm the purple Green Lantern thing, and by the way, that would allow her to still have her famous big fists. They'd just be made of purple energy, which I think could still work. But I can go one further and give you some new information that you haven't heard anywhere else, and that's that the ability, these powers, this purple Green Lantern power, comes from that bracelet. Now, in the comics, the bracelet is actually a family heirloom and a nod to her heritage and has nothing to do with her powers. But on the Disney Plus show, she'll find that bracelet, and that's what will give her her powers and start her on her journey. Whereas in the comics, she discovered she was an Inhuman when the Terrigen mists went over the whole planet, and it was a big thing. But Kevin Feige hates the Inhumans because he hates Jeff Loeb. So yes, she's not an Inhuman, and unless they change it in post, she's not a mutant either, and that's all I can say for now. As for ditching her stretchy powers, it's likely not just because they would be very expensive to do, although they do spend a lot of money on Disney Plus shows, but because Disney already has Mrs. Incredible, aka Elastigirl, and then Mr. Fantastic is quickly approaching, as Kevin Feige just officially announced the Fantastic Four movie, and its director, John Watts from the Spider-Man films. So what do you think of Kamala Khan's MCU costume? What do you think of the nod to Vice President Kamala Harris? What do you think of the change to her powers? Share your thoughts on all this down below, but I think bottom line, she looks fantastic, and so I can't wait to meet her officially. So again, share those thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.